Welcome to Not Suitable for Adults. It's the podcast where we watch shows and movies that were made for kids, and we tell you what we think about them for us. And usually we do that weekly, but man, life's been busy.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
hasn't been weekly at all lately.
No, and we want it to be weekly, so don't think that we're just switching to every other week yet. But we do apologize for not putting an episode out last week. Although we got still a lot of people downloading the show last week, so that's good.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thanks for keeping it going. Keep it going for Not Suitable for Adults. All right. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to do this thing. And I'm going to start. We have talked before about Teen Titans Go. Do you remember about Teen Titans Go?
Yeah, Cora still watches it sometimes. It's
a fun little kid show. There's history behind this show that I didn't know. There's story that I know. So for the uninitiated, or for the ones that haven't watched Teen Titans Go, or people who don't know what that is, or if this is the first time you're listening to us, Teen Titans Go is a super sort of kiddie Cartoon Network style version of these 5 superheroes from the DC universe, and their little team in like the comics and in other shows is the Teen Titans, and their leader is Robin of Batman and Robin fame. And then there's also Starfire, who is like an alien who has lots of superpowers and could be like one of the more powerful people, but she also is like endlessly spunky and cheerful, and so she's like
super zen or something, right?
She can be very
zen one.
She's not as zen. She's like crazy spunky. She's over the top bubbly. And then there's Raven, and she's very sullen and sort of gothic.
Mm-hmm.
And her superpower is she has a demon inside her that gives her superpowers.
Really a superpower.
And then there's Beast Boy, who is also an alien who can turn into any sort of animal.
I think that's the one Cora likes. She likes Beast Boy.
He's funny. And Cyborg, who in like the movies, in the real life movies, is a full-on member of the Justice League. But here he's a Teen Titan.
Okay.
He's one of the teens.
So what's the difference between Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's sort of the crux of what we're doing here today on my half of the show.
Okay.
So what started all this is I found a movie on Hulu, because I've been spending a little more time on Hulu. And the name of that movie is Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans.
Oh, so they're different people?
Well, no, they're not. But I was like, okay, what is this? So I went ahead and I watched it, and I knew that there had been previous iterations of the Teen Titans, but I guess I didn't realize, like I didn't understand the history of the two shows. And the movie kind of almost goes into this. It's like so here's the movie. Spoilers for Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. In this movie, it's a Teen Titans Go movie, and it starts with them, and they're goofing off in their tower. They have like a T-shaped tower in whatever city they're in, and the movie, sort of the main point of the movie is Raven. She has this gem that's like in her head, and the gem gets cracked in an attempt to stop this like villain that is a ghost. It's like the Gentleman Ghost, I think is his nom de guerre.
Sounds very polite.
He is extremely polite, and in fact that's part of the joke of him at the beginning, is like he goes and he robs a bank, and they're like, but you can't carry the money away. He starts to pick it up, and they keep knocking it out of his hand because he's a ghost. And there was like a joke about him being like not fully in phase or whatever, because what was happening is like Robin would throw one of his little birdarangs, and
is that a boomerang made out of a bird?
Yeah, it's instead of a batarang, which is like the boomerangs that Batman throws, it's a birdarang, because he's Robin, which is a bird.
It's terrible.
So the thing is, the ghost, by the way, voiced by none other than Weird Al Yankovic.
The ghost
The
is?
ghost is. He keeps going like, you know how ghosts can like, you know ghosts. And how they like,
Sure.
they go like to the point where they can touch stuff, but then if you try and touch them, you pass through them, that kind of thing. So he's going pass through to not be hit by the Birdarang, but then that makes him drop the money. And so he keeps doing that. So the ghost inhabits Robin, and then Robin picks it up. And they're like, oh no, we have to stop Robin. So they stop Robin. And then so the ghost jumps around into each of them, and there's sort of a joke about like what is going on in their brains. But when he gets to Raven has this like, all she has in her head is this vault. And so he goes into the vault, and he sees this giant gem in there, and he touches it, and it cracks. And the gem is what like contains this power of Raven's. Okay, so the ghost breaks the gem, and that makes Raven's sort of demonic power come out. And
so the gem was holding a demon?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's like bad. And Raven sort of loses control for a second, but then she gets it back under control. But it turns out, so then there's like backstory that I don't know and don't have a ton of like, I don't care a lot about this backstory, but apparently like Raven's, they talk about him like he's her father, but I think maybe it's like a demon-y thing. Anyway, this guy shows up and he's goofy because it's Teen Titans Go. But so he's trying to get that power from her. And so he offers to sort of take it away. They end up, it's all very weird and sort of roundabout, but they end up like to try and distract the Teen Titans. They do sort of a universe crossover event, and the bad guys bring the Teen Titans from this other show. Which it's the same characters, and it turns out the same voice actors who played them in this other show. So I'll talk about the other show in a second. But these other Teen Titans show up and they sort of fight in like a gauntlet style thing. And then they're like, wait a second. Like they do that for a while and it's like interesting and silly. But then ultimately everyone's just like, wait a second, we're all good guys. We shouldn't be fighting each other. And then they figure out that the two versions, the two different universe versions of the same sort of bad guy are working together to try and steal Raven's powers. And
how do they get them from the other show? I don't understand.
They basically invent this thing. It's this big like purple orb or pink orb called, they make fun of it. I can't think what the name of it is now, but there's this like sort of orb thing that just like opens portals to other realities. And they just brought them over from there. And so to some degree, those bad guys are able to steal some of Raven's ability, like most of it. And so the Teen Titans decide to team up, the two teams of Teen Titans. They team up and they're going to go try and fight the bad guys, but they realize they can't do it on their own. And they also realize that if there's one of these orbs that came from like the more serious, so like this other show is like a little bit more serious, a little bit more like the old sort of Batman cartoon, not old, but like the 90s Batman cartoon. And so there's the serious version. They realize that there must be a silly version of theirs, like in their sort of sillier world. And so they go find it and they use it to go to, here's the dumbest part of the movie. To get this orb, they have to fight Santa Claus.
He has the orb?
He and his wife, whose name is Megan. Yeah. They say
there's no way Mrs. Claus's name is Megan. And that's not to say anything against those Megans out there.
Oh, sure.
It's just that she doesn't look like a Megan.
She's not Megan Claus.
No.
There's a really weird, inscrutable line that happens. Beast Boy says, Mrs. Claus. And she comes out, and she looks crazy, and she says, Mrs. Claus was my mother. My name is Megan. And I heard that line, I thought, Oh. But the dog is here. We didn't tell you we got a dog. That's part of what's been making life so interesting. Anyway, Mrs. Claus's mother was not Mrs. Claus.
No.
Unless
it was like their brother and sister.
They're not. Like,
They're
this is supposed to be Santa's wife.
Santa's wife's mother was Mrs. Claus?
She says, Mrs. Claus was my mother's name. You can call me Megan.
Well, that sounds...
Yeah, it was dumb. Anyway, the reason for that is, like, it's supposed to be that, like, the being who can keep track of this orb has to be someone who's, like, very powerful and able to see people sort of at all times, like, that's Santa Claus, and so that's how that works out. And apparently in other sort of, like, holiday specials, the Teen Titans Go crew have fought Santa Claus before, which, whatever. Anyway, so they get hold of the other orb, and they get chased by Santa Claus, and they end up going to a bunch of other realities where they see a bunch of different versions of Teen Titans, including one from, I guess, a movie that came out that's like a much more gritty, like PG-13 type animated movie that includes the Teen Titans. And so they run into them, and then they decide, so they finally get away from Santa Claus, and they're like, yeah, okay, now we know what we need to do, and cut to, like, they show up at the big bads, and they're gonna fight them. And they have this moment where they're like, what happens? Like, the guy says something like, you can't defeat me, and they're like, we know. We, not even two teams of Teen Titans would have trouble defeating you. And he's like, yes, you're right. And they're like, but what about infinite Earth's Teen Titans? And then a bunch of portals open up behind them, and like all those different versions of Teen Titans that they saw sort of pop through the portals. And it's pretty much exactly that scene from Avengers Endgame at the very end, where they're like, they've done the snap to bring people back. Mm-hmm. And then they did the snap, and then they fight Thanos for a while. Thanos kind of blows up the Avengers place. And by the way, spoilers for Avengers Endgame. I know.
The amount of times you say spoilers, I
just don't want to spoil it for people, but I also say it like a minute and a half too late.
I know.
Anyway, it's this exact same scene. They're like squaring up, and they're like, they line up, and then in Avengers you hear Falcon say to Captain America's, "Oh, on your left," and they turn around, and a bunch of the Doctor Strange portals open, and all the good guys come through. It's exactly that scene. It's exactly that. And so all the Teen Titans come through, and they fight the bad guys, and they win. Yay! And then Raven has to sort of come to terms with her demon, which it turns out is like just her. So like she goes into her mind, and she's like, I don't want to bind you up anymore. We just need to work together. And like out of the shadows, we keep seeing this demon sort of in the shadows, and then out of the shadows just steps her, and they like shake hands, and then they come out. And
it's kind of like Luke fighting himself in that weird forest.
Yes, it's exactly like that. Luke in the cave on Dagobah. I'm so proud of you.
Proud of myself.
It's a proud moment right here for all of us. Anyway, what this made me realize, the movie's fine. The weirdest thing is that the two sets of Teen Titans, the voice cast is exactly the same. And that's true for the shows as well. So it's just a little bit weird, because they're like, sometimes there's like Robin is arguing with Robin, and it's just the same guy going back and forth.
But what is the difference?
The difference is really in the animation, which I can show you, but our audience wouldn't be able to see.
So they're in separate worlds, though?
Yeah, so the idea is that these two shows happen in different versions of Earth, which is kind of how the comics and even the movies deal with the differences between like continuities. And actually, like on the Flash like TV show, they're doing this, where they're like acknowledging that there's a movie universe happening almost, but that like they don't touch each other because they're just different.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you look right here, the main difference is animation. This is Teen Titans Go Robin, and this is Teen Titans Robin.
They look the same except one's taller than the other.
Yes, and there's a joke about that. Cyborg says, "Look at this guy. He's like 5 of your heads tall, but look at you. You're like 3 tops." And so, yeah. The movie's fine. It's sort of weird. There are fully 2 musical numbers in it, which is strange. Like there's a rap in the middle where they, at the point when they agreed that they're like going to work together, they said there's like this we're Teen Titans like rap that they do. And then there's a song that they make up about the dumb name of the orb, which again, I cannot remember. That is just performed by Starfire, Beast Boy, and Cyborg. And at the end of that, they're like, huh? Like they're all kind of like excited that they just had that moment. And Beast Boy's like, you feel that? That's screen time. How does that feel? Because they're kind of the less featured characters usually.
Oh.
Anyway, the whole point of this is like, I didn't realize this, but they make fun of the 2 shows like problems inside this movie. Mm-hmm. So like they talk about how the slightly more realistic Teen Titans, which is the series that came first, that show came out in 2003. It ran for 5 aired seasons, but I guess like kind of staggered throughout about 3 years.
Okay.
And so apparently that show, so when I'm looking at the rating, when I'm looking at information for it, like Wikipedia says that it was a well-received show. But in the show, and I feel like maybe I saw a couple of these. I thought I was looking for Teen Titans Go and I found this. I was like, this isn't right. The movie sort of goes like, yeah, it's not a very fun show. Like it's kind of like they make fun of like none of you are very fun. It seems like I've known you now for a few minutes and now you're kind of boring. And so they kind of poke fun at each other. There's a moment when like while they're fighting, there's a guy in the stands who like really cheers for the original Teen Titans ones, the boring quote unquote boring ones. Mm-hmm. And when the Teen Titans Go ones come out, he holds up a sign that says, "You ruined my childhood." And which is, I mean, like, and I'm sure people like that because when I reviewed Teen Titans Go, that's kind of the thing is like, they're only really superheroes like a third of the time on that show. Mm-hmm. They very occasionally do superhero-y things. It's mostly just them like goofing off.
Yeah.
And
They're just being kids.
Right. And so that's kind of what they do. They sort of highlight saying that there's like this, the more serious version and the baby version is what they call each other.
Gotcha.
So there's the serious Titans and the baby Titans. And it was an interesting, I guess sort of an interesting thing to watch. It was just a crossover event for like during an off season of the show. Which Teen Titans Go is still going now. Like I said, this one was canceled in 2006. This is what I know I keep saying this. I just think this is nuts. They hired this voice cast in 2003 mm-hmm. and they did 5 seasons of the show mm-hmm. and then it got canceled. And then 7 years later, they started Teen Titans Go and rehired the exact same cast.
Well, that's lucky.
I know. I just think that's crazy. I mean, great. I'm not upset about it. I just think that's amazing that like 7 years, there are things like, there was one guy for a while who, if I think about it hard enough, I'll remember his name, who is like the animated Batman voice. It's mm-hmm. Brian. Dang it. I'll remember another time. But I guess I didn't think about like that being a thing for other characters. Anyway, I don't know if this is anything, but I was fascinated watching this movie. I don't know why. Like the movie, like I said, the movie's whatever, but like watch the sort of the meta humor of the movie was fun for me as someone who enjoys comic booky stuff.
Is this this is like a Y7 kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say it's Y7. There's a moment where they go into the universe of that sort of grittier the movie version of the Teen Titans I told you about. And we see like that version of them. That movie is not. Like, that movie is definitely PG-13. But everything in this movie that we're watching, Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, is fully PG or lower.
Gotcha.
So, just sort of a weird thing to stumble across there, and a fun thing to watch, especially if you're into superhero stuff like I am. It's fun for kids. It's mostly set in the Teen Titans Go world, so it's all very cartoony and fun and all that jazz.
Cool beans.
And that is my contribution. I've contributed to the podcast.
Okay.
All right, let's take a quick break in Promoville, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Hey, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you?
Let's talk about dinosaurs.
Let's talk about dinosaurs.
Yikes. Because of the show, I'm going to kind of do a 2-for-1 right now. But because of the most recent reiteration of this show, Cora has been hardcore into dinosaurs lately.
Yeah, super into them.
She is learning dinosaur names. She's talking about what herbivores and carnivores are. She says what her favorite dinosaur is, and she does pretty well pronouncing even some of the bigger names.
Yeah, earlier today she just was like, "Dad, what was a plesiosaur?" And I was like,
I heard her say,
get out of here.
I heard her say something like, asking about megalodons.
Yep, she's talking about megalodons.
But, anyway, even to the point where the other day she was sitting on the couch watching this show, and she turned to me and she started welling up and she said, "Mama, I think I'm gonna cry." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I feel really bad for the dinosaurs because they got hit by a meteor." And like, she started crying, and I said, "Well, babe, yeah, that's too bad, but it happened, and it's fine. It's gonna be fine." She's like, "I really wish they would have survived." Like,
yeah, she keeps saying, "I wish that they were on another planet instead of our planet, so that they wouldn't have gotten hit by the meteor." Yeah.
Okay, so the original show that I'm going to talk about is called Dino Dan. And this is about, it is a Canadian TV series, and it's directed by J.J. Johnson, and it premiered in Canada and in the United States in the same year, different months of the same year, in 2010. It combines live action and CGI, and it's about a little boy named Dan Henderson. He loves dinosaurs. He wants to be a paleontologist, and him and his friends go on little adventures that he calls dinosaur experiments. And the dinosaur experiments is basically like him figuring out his own world, but in a way that you also learn about dinosaurs. So, for instance, he was, and this has to do with the other show as well, they may be interested in what type of animals have babies. And then they'll talk about dinosaurs lay eggs, and then the dinosaurs' babies are smaller versions of themselves, or, stuff like that. So they use the life and the science of dinosaurs to kind of figure out their own modern day world around them. they also have just it. I mean, they talk a lot about the science of it, the biology of it, and everything like that. To where like sometimes Cora spits out this fact about dinosaurs that is crazy. Dan's younger brother is named Trek, Trek, and at first it's just really Dan using his imagination to see dinosaurs. He uses his imagination to see dinosaurs to figure out whatever his lesson is for that episode. His little brother Trek then took over after Dan had to stop doing his dinosaur experiments.
He aged out.
I guess so. That show started, it's called Dino Dan Trek's Adventures. That one started in 2013. Now Trek is able to see dinosaurs himself and spends time learning about them just like his brother did. And we learn about a lot more dinosaurs. Apparently Dan couldn't do it anymore because he has to help his father, which I couldn't find more information on that, and I don't know as much about Dino Dan as I do about the next one.
The real one.
Well, this is the OG Dino Dan.
Yeah.
And Trek becomes the main character of these episodes, but the actor that plays Dan as Dan comes back and does some appearances as well. And much of the adult cast remains unchanged. After Dino Dan Trek's Adventures finished, the exact same director, J.J. Johnson, in Canada, decided to do a new series. And now we have a female lead. And it is Dino Dana.
Dino Dana!
And this is the one that Cora will watch Dino Dana a little bit, but she identifies a little bit more with Dino Dana. It premiered on Amazon Prime in 2017. At the end of 2020, they did a movie, Dino Dana, the movie. And it was going to release in March of 2020 in theaters, but y'all know what happened in March of 2020. But all of these are on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You can watch all these. Dino Dana, her name isn't Dino Dana. Her name is Dana. She probably gets tired of people calling her Dino Dana. But she's 9 years old, and she sets out to also do dino experiments to figure out. It teaches her about dinosaurs and also teaches her about her own world. She has a stepsister named Sarah, a mother named Ava, and a stepfather named Amon. And then her grandmother Gloria also comes in sometimes. So they're a mixed family, and a lot of their strife sometimes comes from being a mixed family, and her older stepsister is kind of not into dinosaurs and thinks it's dumb. Dino Dana doesn't just imagine the things, though. This is what's a little bit different than Dino Dan. Dino Dana was looking for a book to read about dinosaurs at the library. Even though she had read all of the books about dinosaurs, the librarian gave her his field guide to dinosaurs.
Oh, I wonder who that was.
Actually, I don't know. I couldn't find the exact information, and I haven't seen that episode.
I thought it was going to be like Dan or Trek was there. And
Dan and Trek actually go and end up working in like a museum somewhere.
Yeah.
And do like actual paleontologists.
Because we see them in the movie.
The movie, yes. But the librarian gives her this book, and apparently this book, takes her through her dinosaur experiments. But when you open this book, when Dino Dana opens this book, she opens the book to find out what her dinosaur experiment is going to be for that day. And it's the book. Mm-hmm. You open the book, and it's like one of those books that has a compartment inside of it. Yeah. And just what's inside the compartment is that they've stuck like a tablet type thing inside of it.
Yeah.
So it's the field guide is odd.
It could just be a tablet, but they decided to make it a book.
It needed to be a book for some reason. With this, if you look at the field guide and you want to believe in dinosaurs, then you start seeing dinosaurs. That's what happens in Dino Dana.
So there's like some magic involved.
Yeah, apparently. If you're looking in the field guide, so I guess it's like a magic field guide it's really just like a book that has a tablet.
It's really just an iPad with an encyclopedia in it.
Yeah. If you're looking at this and you wish that you could see dinosaurs, or you love dinosaurs enough that you just want them to, be real to you or something like that, then they become real and you can see them in your everyday life, in your modern world. Other people can't see them. They're running around. Like, we could have dinosaurs all throughout our house and wouldn't know it until somebody brought us the field guide to see them.
So they're really blurring the lines between, is this imaginary?
Right.
Or there mystical dinosaurs?
Yeah. So, and in the movie, her older sister ends up like actually seeing the dinosaurs as well, and that helps them bond and whatever. So that's how Dino Dana sees the dino. It is like a weird, like, is this? I mean, we've done this before in these shows. Is this their imagination, or is this real, or is this magic, or not exactly sure. But, and I meant to have this pulled up, and I don't. It has been nominated and won several Canadian Children's Television Awards. It also got a Daytime Emmy for the girl that plays Dino Dana as outstanding actress in her field.
I do think, so I saw 1.5 episodes of Dino Dan. Mm-hmm. And then now I've seen a few episodes of Dino Dana, and I saw most of the movie.
Dino Dan just makes me think of, what is that kid's name that plays Adam, the youngest Selinsky kid in Honey Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. Uh-huh. He's in Honey We Shrunk Ourselves. He's like the little redheaded boy. Yeah. He reminds me, is it like Bugsy or Bugs, or doesn't he have like a name like that?
No, doesn't. I think you're thinking, isn't he in The Big Green and they call him Bug in that?
They call him Newt in The Big Green. Come on.
Come on, get with it.
Newt, Big Green. Sorry if there's interference with my phone. I'm looking up. Bug.
Good job.
Bug Hall is Bug this Hall. Kid's name.
You're right. He's very reminiscent of Bug Hall.
Yes. And he that's who Dino Dan looks like to me.
So I was going to say, I've seen a little bit of this, and I agree. I think that the girl who plays Dana is very good. Another thing that I don't know if they did as much in Dino Dan, but they do a lot in Dino Dana, is she not just interacts with dinosaurs, but also frequently is doing sort of a make-believe, where she's either role playing as like an important paleontologist.
Right.
Or
and
like,
that is actually imagination.
Right.
She will take people into her imagination with her, and they will be playing parts, and the world changes that you're watching, and then suddenly they're actually playing the parts that they're imagining.
Right. And I think she does. I mean, for a kid leading her own show.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of like, there's one where they do like a full dinosaur makeup, like she's a baby dinosaur.
Yeah,
and
they
like
do.
Some really impressive costume stuff.
Yeah.
In that part. Yeah, I can see why she got the nomination and the win for a young actress.
Yeah. And I don't have the exact award pulled up, but it was a Daytime Emmy for her performances. But anyway, this is kind of, I want to say preschool. I think it's labeled as a preschool, but because it does do more of a scientific thing, it's interesting to kids even a little bit older than preschool. So
plus there's a lot of big words.
Right. Cora has really been loving it to the point where she's started mostly talking about dinosaurs and pretending that she's a dinosaur and
really, really, really worrying about that meteor.
Yeah, she has said before, what happens if a meteor hits us? And I go, well, baby, that's the way I want to go. Like, if I can choose, might as well be a meteor. Sounds good to me. But I also tell her, don't worry about it.
But also, don't worry, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, she asked me about it. And then she's asking like really, I mean, smart questions. Like, she was talking something about like how if all the dinosaurs because they talk about how like dinosaurs evolved into birds and things like that. And she's like, but Daddy, if all the dinosaurs got wiped out but dinosaurs are birds, how are there birds? And I'm like, that's a good question that I don't have all the answers to. I mean, all the dinosaurs didn't. It's not like every dinosaur piled up and got hit by the meteor. Like some of them survived that terrible like time, obviously, or we wouldn't have these things that they evolved from. So, but she's asking smart questions. Is my point.
I don't know science.
You don't science.
I don't science. But Cora's really been into it, so would recommend. It's your older kids are probably going to think it's a bit cheesy.
It is a cheesy show.
It's quite cheesy.
It's Kraft mac and cheesy.
Yeah, but 4, 5, 6-year-olds or just kids that are really into dinosaurs would probably love it.
I think it's really interesting. Do you know what was there a gap? Like how much was there a gap between what's his face? The brother.
The Trek one?
Yeah, the Trek series, and makes me feel like we're talking about Star Trek.
Let me because I didn't have those dates written down.
They can probably hear.
So it's not even, it wasn't even a year.
Oh, okay.
It was like the next year, when a regular season would come out, it was Dino Dana.
Switched gears to Dino Dana.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's an interesting evolution for a show.
Yeah.
Like that it gets past. I don't know. I can't think of another show that's done something like that. Where like it's one thing to sort of pass along and like there's a different kid.
Yeah.
But for there to be continuity, like there's a story from the beginning to the end.
Oh, I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Oh, okay.
Looking at the wrong thing. Just hold on to your horses.
Hold your horses super still. Well, even if it's more.
So, okay, so Dino Dan So Dino Dan Trek's Adventures is still happening.
What?
It started in 2013. Okay, so Dino Dan... Hold on. Give me one more second. Nothing really has an end date on any of these things. It's weird.
Well, okay, there might be confusion because...
Maybe they're calling it all the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is like maybe this is all one long show,
right?
Because I just think that's really interesting.
Maybe they're So, Dino Dan started in 2010. Dino Dan Trek's Adventures started in 2013. And Dino Dana started in 2017. None of those have end dates.
Huh.
They all just followed each other. I think.
I think that's crazy.
I think they all just started after like a couple seasons. Like Dino Dana definitely has more seasons than the other two. Dino Dan, I think, had 2 seasons. Dino Dan Trek's Adventures had 2 seasons. And then they started Dino Dana in 2017. And she, I believe, is still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that's really interesting because, like, at first, when we first discovered this, and we found Dino Dana, I think, and then we found like, oh, then over here is also Dino Dan, and it seemed like what happened was initially, just without any like digging, that there was this show called Dino Dan that didn't run for very long, and then they rebooted it as Dino Dana like several years later. But instead, what it seems like happened is there was this like super like smart educational show that just got like soft rebooted several times just in the same sort of timeline. Yeah. So
like
because
maybe
like Dana has because Dana we saw and I think in the movie Dana meets Dan and Trek.
Yeah.
And so
she knows them.
Yeah. So like it's all in the same universe.
It's all in the same universe. It does look like maybe the episodes ended and started like the end of the 2 seasons of Dino Dan, like had maybe a year or 2 between Trek's Adventures, but I can't, like the dates are weird because I think they're considering them all to be the same thing.
Well, in any case, it's a recommend.
Yes, for sure. Cora loves it. And it's very educational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're learning all about the dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, tapioca. Makes me think of that movie. Y'all, that movie that is suitable for adults that has Renee Zellweger in it.
Uh-huh.
And she goes to Wisconsin, and that lady that's good and everything always talks about her and tapioca.
What's the name of that movie?
Dang it, you guys.
No, you don't have to look it up.
No, it's got Harry Connick Jr. in it.
Okay, you look it up while I'm doing...
Okay.
So, this has been another episode Not Suitable for Adults. And we do thank you for listening. We like you all so much.
New in
Town. That's the one.
Is the name of this. And I should have known that because this is a very good movie. But what is the name of the... how do you say her name? How do you say?
Oh, Siobhan.
Siobhan
Fallon Hogan.
Yeah. She's the one that talks about tapioca. Never mind. Everybody just continue on with your day. It doesn't matter.
We like you all very much, and we think you like us too, because you know what? You're listening to like our 60th or so episode of the show. So theoretically, we're like in a like relationship here.
And you guys... Seriously, and we're not trying to pull your leg. We really do want to be doing this every week.
Yeah.
We have been having a lot of things.
We moved. Job stuff happened. We got a dog.
Yes.
These are all things that happened in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, and it's been really stressful.
I guess not 4 weeks, like 6 weeks, but still.
But it's been really stressful, and it's been hard to cut this time out for just like the two of us to sit down and talk to each other about
these silly shows.
These things that you guys want us to talk about.
All that being said...
And also, sorry.
No, please.
Also, tomorrow is Cora's birthday.
Yeah.
She's going to be 5. And that just,
Unbelievable.
Next weekend, we're going to have birthday stuff going on. But, we're going to try to be there for you.
We're going to make this happen.
I think we said that 2 weeks ago.
You know what would really help us? Leave a review.
Do you think... Okay, never mind.
What?
Do you think it would spur us to sit down in the middle of a busy weekend because somebody gave us a review?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was sitting down and do, as I literally do from time to time, pop into Apple Podcasts and click on our own show and go down and read the reviews. Yeah, that would be...
You're a little bit of a narcissist there, aren't you?
No, it's just that we have a podcast. I want to make sure we're not getting any bad stars, so don't leave any bad stars.
There's bad stars?
Well, the low number stars are the bad ones.
Oh.
You really want the bigger numbers. You want the 5s, if you can get them.
Sure, I understand that.
So rate and review the show. You can do that on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. You can also go to podchaser.com. By the way, if you go to podchaser.com, you could click on our show and then go to our merch. You can buy some merch if you wanted to. I'm just saying. You don't have to, but you could. You could buy merch. We have the merch.
Okay.
Merch.
I think they get it. No, don't. Stop it.
Merch.
Let's finish this.
Okay. Thank you to Shad Warrell for creating our theme music. It's really neat, and we like it. You can go over to soundcloud.com/Shad-Warrell to listen to more of his work. He's super duper cool. Hey, we know that I don't think we're the only ones that are busy. It's been a whole year of pandemic, and now it's like warming up. And so now it's like, it's time to go do things, right? Just don't forget, with all the hustle and bustle, just don't forget that you're the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Okay, bye.
Bye.